Get out of first class. You don't belong here." Those were the last words a senior flight attendant snarled right before she slapped a quiet passenger across the face. She thought she was kicking out a nobody who'd snuck into a $10,000 seat. She had no idea she had just assaulted the one person on Earth she never should have touched. She froze in pure terror, her entire life flashing before her eyes, when the woman she'd just hit looked up, held her stinging cheek, and said 6 words that ended her career. "I own this plane." Dr. Serafina Hayes did not look like she could buy the state of New York. She looked, quite deliberately, like a graduate student who had just rolled out of a dorm bed for a final exam. She wore a faded, charcoal grey Stanford University hoodie, the one with the frayed cuffs she'd had since her PhD defense, a pair of simple black leggings, and a pair of well-worn Allbirds. Her hair, a cascade of intricate micro-braids, was pulled back into a simple, efficient bun at the nape of her neck. The only hint of her status was the Patek Philippe watch that she didn't wear. Instead, a simple, black, $50 Casio digital watch was strapped to her wrist, its practicality a silent testament to her priorities. Today, her priority was closing the largest deal of her life. At 34, Serafina, or Sefi, to the 2 people in the world she trusted, was the sole founder and CEO of Helios Innovations. While names like Musk and Zuckerberg dominated headlines, Sefi had quietly, terrifyingly, built a $90 billion empire in the one field they couldn't crack, quantum-based predictive AI for global logistics. Her algorithms didn't just tell you where a package was, they told you where a problem would be in 6 months. A drought in Brazil, a strike in Hamburg, a microchip shortage in Taiwan, Helios knew it first. And now, Astraeus Global Airlines, one of the world's most prestigious and financially over-leveraged carriers, was about to become the newest, shiniest, and most broken toy in her portfolio. She was flying from JFK to London Heathrow on Astraeus Flight 112, in Seat 1A. The flagship first suite. The deal to acquire the airline wasn't public. In fact, the final meeting to sign the papers was in 12 hours in London. The current CEO of Astraeus, Mark Donovan, thought he was flying to London on a parallel flight to meet with his anonymous investment group. He had no idea the investment group was a single person, and that she was flying on his own airline in his best seat to personally assess the product she was about to buy. Sefi hated flying, but more than that, she hated the performative theatre of wealth. She didn't want the fawning, the obsequious smiles, the "Yes, Ms. Hayes" from people who saw her bank account, not her. She just wanted to be left alone in Seat 1A with her laptop and her thoughts for 7 hours. She boarded first, with the Special Assistance Group, not because she needed it, but because she wanted to settle in before the cabin filled with the clatter and chatter of other passengers. She tucked her scuffed leather satchel, the same one from her PhD days, under the ottoman. It contained the final $5 billion acquisition papers. She was invisible, just the way she liked it. And then Barbara Jensen, senior purser for Astraeus Global, clocked in for her shift. And Barbara Jensen hated invisible people. Barbara Barb Jensen was 58 years old and had been flying for 32 of them. In her mind, she was not a flight attendant. She was the maîtresse d' of a $500 million sky palace. This Boeing 737-300ER was her domain. She had clawed her way up from the back rows of coach in the 1990s to this, senior purser, running the first-class cabin on the most prestigious route in the world, JFK to London. But 32 years of forced smiles had curdled something inside her. She was a woman of rigid hierarchies. There were the legacy passengers, the DuPonts, the Rockefellers, the quiet old money who knew her name and tipped her with a crisp $100 bill at the end of the flight. There were the celebrities, who she tolerated with a professional chill. And then there was the new money, the tech bros, the influencers, the others who flew first class, but, in her eyes, didn't belong. They wore sneakers. They drank Diet Coke instead of the $300-a-bottle champagne. They didn't understand the etiquette. Today, her gaze, sharp as a broken champagne flute, swept her cabin. In 2A, Chadwick Chad Vance, a 28-year-old venture capitalist in a pristine, logo-heavy Balenciaga sweater, already had his AirPods in. New money, she sniffed. But at least he looked the part. He was white, confident, and had a platinum card already on his tray. In 3K, Mrs. Eleanor DuPont, 70s, pearls and a gaze that could freeze steam. Old money. Barb felt a flutter of comfort. And in 1A, a what? Barb stared at Serafina Hayes. The girl, she was just a girl, was wearing a hoodie. In flagship first. Her feet, in those foam shoes, were tucked under her. She was already typing on a laptop, ignoring the pre-flight bustle. Barb's perfectly plucked eyebrow rose. A disturbance, a misfile, a problem. This was almost certainly a case of a seat jumper, a coach passenger who sneaks into first class, hoping to go unnoticed. Or worse, one of those low-level employees flying on a buddy pass who had somehow lucked into a first-class seat and didn't know how to act. "Ma'am." Barb's voice was like ice-cold syrup. Serafina looked up, her eyes clear and analytical. She held up one finger, typed a final sentence, hit enter, and then gave Barb her full attention. "Yes?" The lack of immediate, fawning deference was strike one. "May I see your boarding pass, please?" "Of course." Serafina didn't fumble. She didn't apologize. She simply reached into her hoodie pocket, pulled out her phone, and showed the digital pass. Barb's face tightened. It was a legitimate ticket. But how? This person couldn't have afforded a $10,000 ticket. It must be points, or a corporate booking, a low-level assistant, definitely not a real first-class passenger. "Aha," Barb said, her voice dripping with false brightness. "Well, welcome aboard. Can I get you a pre-departure beverage? We have the 2008 Bollinger La Grande Année." She said it as a test. "Just a sparkling water with a slice of lime, please. No ice." Strike two. Water. "And ma'am," Barb added, unable to help herself. "Once we are airborne, you'll find our complimentary pajama sets in the amenity kit. They are far more comfortable for a long flight than street clothes." Serafina just smiled, a small, tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you, I'm fine." She turned back to her laptop. Barb marched back to the galley, her blood simmering. The audacity, the disrespect. To her, to the cabin, to Astreas. "We have a problem in 1A, she hissed to her junior colleague, a bright-eyed young woman named Chloe. "What problem?" Chloe asked, polishing a glass. "She's just not first-class material. She's bringing the whole cabin down. Keep an eye on her." Barb delivered Chadwick Vance's champagne with a dazzling smile. "So wonderful to have you back, Mr. Vance." "Thanks, Barb. Going to be a wild one in London." He grinned. She delivered Mrs. DuPont's warm water with lemon with a reverent half-bow. "A pleasure, Mrs. DuPont." She forgot Serafina's water. When Serafina politely pressed the call button 10 minutes later, Barb arrived with a thud, placing a plastic cup of tap water on the tray. "I'm sorry," Barb said. "We're all out of lime." Serafina looked at the cup, then at Barb's name tag. "Barbara, thank you." She didn't complain. She just watched. And for the first time in 32 years, being watched made Barbara Jensen feel profoundly, terrifyingly small. The flight was, for the first 3 hours, textbook. The 727 was a steady ship climbing through the night sky. Dinner service began. Barb took the meal orders, starting, as was proper, with Mrs. Dupont. The filet, of course, Mrs. Dupont. Medium rare, as you like it. Thank you, Barbara. You always remember. She moved to Chadwick Vance. The sea bass, Barb, and keep the bolly coming, yeah? Of course, Mr. Vance. She arrived at 1A last. She stood over Serafina, who was still working. Ma'am, I need you to put the laptop away. It's time for dinner. I'll be just a moment, Serafina said, not looking up. I'll have the sea bass, if it's still available. Barb's smile was a crack in a porcelain mask. You need to close the laptop now. It's against regulations. This was a lie. Laptops were fine. Serafina looked up, her gaze patient, as if she were dealing with a malfunctioning piece of code. Barbara, we are at cruising altitude, and the Wi-Fi is on. Laptops are permitted. I'll be finished in 1 minute. The sea bass, please. The polite correction, the public questioning of her authority, was like a match to dry tinder. We're out of the sea bass, Barb snapped, lying again. All we have left is the vegetarian pasta. The pasta is fine, thank you. Serafina went back to typing. Barb was shaking. She marched to the galley. Chloe, prepare a pasta for 1A, and I want you to watch her. Watch her for what? Chloe asked, confused. She seems perfectly lovely. Did you know she's— I don't care what she is, Barb hissed, her voice low and venomous. She is a disrespectful, arrogant child who thinks because she has a ticket, she can waltz in here and treat us like servants. She's probably high. Barb delivered the pasta with a dismissive clatter, plopping it on the tray table. Serafina simply nodded, moved the laptop to the side, and ate a single bite. The first-class pasta was a congealed, lukewarm mess. Seffi had eaten worse in her dorm. She pushed it aside and went back to work. This, to Barb, was the ultimate insult. First, she demands a meal. Then she doesn't even eat it. The waste, the arrogance. The cabin lights were dimmed. Most passengers were asleep. Mrs. Dupont was dozing. Chadwick Vance was 3 glasses of champagne in, watching The Hangover. Serafina, however, was on a quiet, text-based video call. Her team in California had found a last-minute snag in the Astreas acquisition, a $200 million discrepancy in the pension fund. She was, in the dead of night, negotiating a multi-million-dollar problem. Her face was illuminated by the glow of her laptop screen. Barb saw the light. She saw the quiet, focused energy, and she saw red. This was her cabin, her quiet time. This person was holding a meeting, as if this were her private office. Barb had a splitting headache. Her mortgage was due. Her 23-year-old son had just crashed her car, and this billionaire wannabe in a hoodie was ignoring the rules. She marched down the aisle. She didn't whisper. Mum, you will turn that light off. You are disturbing the other passengers. Serafina looked up, startled. I'm on a critical call. The screen is dimmed, and I'm using headphones. I don't care. The cabin is dark. You are being disruptive. Chadwick Vance pulled off his headphones. Hey, lady, leave her alone. She's not bothering me. Mrs. Dupont stirred, opening one eye. Barbara, what is going on? The fact that her real passengers were defending this intruder made something in Barb's mind snap. The 32 years of resentment, the missed promotions, the sore feet, the fake smiles, it all coalesced into a single burning point of hatred directed at the calm, dark-skinned woman in seat 1A. You, Barb snarled, jabbing a finger at Serafina. You think you're special. You think you can just buy your way in here with your new money and your attitude. You don't belong here. Serafina's eyes went cold. She began to close her laptop. "Barbara, you are being unprofessional. Step away." "I will not step away. I am the senior purser on this aircraft, and I am ordering you to turn off that device." "You don't have that authority," Serafina said, her voice flat. "This is my plane, and I want people like you off of it." Barb was screaming now. "Get out! Get out of first class!" She was raving. It was a complete mental breakdown. Serafina started to stand up, perhaps to de-escalate, to call for the captain. Barb saw the movement as aggression, and she did it, with a shriek of, "Get out!" Barbara Jensen drew back her hand and slapped Serafina Hayes hard across the face. The crack of the slap echoed through the silent cabin. It was so loud, so sharp, it sounded like a piece of the aircraft had broken. Serafina's head snapped to the side. Her laptop clattered to the floor. Chadwick Vance's jaw was on his chest. Mrs. DuPont gasped, her hand flying to her pearls. "Good heavens!" Chloe, the junior attendant, ran in from the galley, her face ashen. There was a half-second of pure, crystalline silence. The only sound was the drone of the engines. Serafina slowly, deliberately, straightened up. She didn't cry. She did not yell. A bright red handprint was already blooming on her left cheek. She looked at Barbara. And Barbara Jensen, in that moment, realized what she had done. The madness cleared, replaced by a cold, rushing, abyssal terror. She saw the phone in Chadwick Vance's hand, now recording. She saw the horror on Mrs. DuPont's face. She saw the career-ending, life-ending mistake she had just made. She began to stammer. She was threatening me." Serafina held up one hand. Her voice was not loud. It was not angry. It was the voice of a CEO about to liquidate a failed asset. It was a voice of pure, cold, absolute finality. "Chloe," she said, her voice perfectly even, addressing the junior attendant. "Please go to the flight deck and ask Captain Miller to come here immediately." Yes, Mum," Chloe stammered, and fled. Serafina then turned her gaze back to Barb, who was now frozen, her hand still half raised, trembling. She's not. I'm the purser. I will call the captain," Barb babbled. "You will do nothing, Barbara," Serafina said. "You will stand right there, and you will not say another word." Barb froze. The sheer, unadulterated authority in that voice was more powerful than any uniform. A minute later, the captain, a silver-haired, stoic man named David Miller, burst through the curtain. "What in God's name is going on? We got a panic call from Chloe." Barb saw her opening. The tears she'd been faking for 30 years came on command. "Oh, Captain! Thank God! This passenger! She's unhinged! She's been disruptive all flight, and she pushed me. I acted in self-defense." Captain Miller looked at Barb. He looked at the 110-pound woman in the hoodie, who was now calmly picking up her laptop. He looked at the phone still recording in Chadwick Vance's hand. "Sir," Serafina said, "is that true?" Serafina looked at the captain. "Captain Miller, my name is Dr. Serafina Hayes. I am the passenger in seat 1A. Your senior purser, Ms. Jensen, has been harassing me since I boarded. 5 minutes ago, she demanded I leave the first-class cabin. When I refused, she assaulted me. She slapped me across the face." "It's true," Chadwick Vance said. "I got it on video. This crazy lady just slapped her. It was insane." "Barbara," Captain Miller's voice was arctic. "Did you strike a passenger?" Barb's face crumpled. The lie had failed. The terror came rushing back. She doesn't belong here. She was... Serafina held up her hand again. The red mark was darker now. "Captain, I appreciate your situation, but this aircraft is currently transporting a person who has committed assault at 35,000 feet. Miss Jensen, the captain said, his face grim. Go to the rear galley and wait for me. Do not speak to anyone. But that is an order from the captain of this aircraft. Move! Barb, for the first time, looked broken. She turned, defeated, and did the walk of shame down the aisle. Captain Miller turned to Serafina, his face full of professional dread. Dr. Hayes, on behalf of Astreus Global, I cannot find the words to apologize. Are you injured? Do you need medical? I'm fine, Captain. Serafina sat down, rubbing her cheek. But we have a bigger problem. Bigger than assault? Serafina looked him in the eye. Barbara said this was her plane. She's not entirely wrong. It's an asset of a company that I am in the process of acquiring. The captain's face was blank. Ma'am, my name is Serafina Hayes. I am the founder of Helios Innovations. Chadwick Vance, the VC, suddenly gasped, his face going pale. Oh, my God, Helios, you're that Serafina Hayes, the Financial Times, the Project Sky acquisition. That's Astreus. Holy, you're buying the airline. The captain's blood ran cold. He was not just a pilot, he was a senior manager. He knew of the Project Sky rumors. He knew the company was being sold, and he just realized he was speaking to his new boss. The new boss his employee had just assaulted. Serafina gave a small, grim smile. It's a G5, a Gulfstream. That's what I usually fly. But I wanted to test the commercial product. She looked at her laptop, now cracked. The product is faulty. She looked up at the captain. Barbara said I should get off her plane. She paused. She's about to find out what it's like when the person you just slapped owns the plane. The remaining 4 hours of the flight were a masterclass in corporate deconstruction. Captain Miller, now understanding the sheer, planet-sized gravity of the situation, became a model of efficiency. Dr. Hayes, he said, his voice low and formal, what are your instructions? This was no longer a passenger crew issue. This was an owner-employee issue. First, Serafina said, her voice all business, Ms. Jensen is a flight risk and a danger. I want her confined. She is not to interact with any passengers or crew, except for you. Second, I want the other flight attendant, Chloe, to take over the first-class cabin. She was professional. She was respectful. Please make a note of that. Done. Third, I need to know your exact protocol for an in-flight assault on a passenger by a crew member, because I'm going to be reviewing it, and based on tonight, I am going to be rewriting it. Understood, ma'am. We will have London Metropolitan Police meet the aircraft upon landing. Good. Serafina paused. And Captain, get me a bag of ice for my face, and a real sparkling water, with lime. While Chloe, with trembling hands, retrieved the ice and water, Captain Miller went to the rear galley. The scene he found was one of complete delusion. Barbara Jensen was sitting on the jump seat, reapplying her lipstick. It's fine, Captain, she said, attempting a conspiratorial smile. I've handled it. I'll just write her up when we land. We'll have her blacklisted from the airline. She'll never fly Astreus again. Captain Miller stared at her, dumbfounded. He didn't know if it was shock or profound stupidity. Barbara, he said, his voice heavy. What's your seniority? 32 years, right? 32 years next month, she said proudly. Seen it all. Well, you've just seen the end of it. Her smile faltered. What? Do you have any idea who that woman is? She's a nobody, a troublemaker in a hoodie. That nobody, Barbara, is Dr. Serafina Hayes. The name meant nothing to her. So, she's the founder of Helios Innovations, She's one of the richest women in the world, and as of about 12 hours from now, she is the new owner of Astraeus Global Airlines. He let the words hang in the small, pressurized space. Barbara's lipstick-caked mouth fell open. The color drained from her face, leaving a pasty, grey mask. What did you— No, you're lying. Am I? Miller said, his patience gone. Chadwick Vance in 2A, the VC kid? He recognized her from the Financial Times. She's flying to London to sign the papers. You, Barbara, just assaulted your new boss. You assaulted the owner of the entire 50,000 employee company. Barbara's breath started coming in short, panicked gasps. The walls of the galley seemed to be closing in. It was a mistake. I can apologize. I'll go right now. I'll apologize. She made to stand up. You will sit down. Miller's voice was a command. You are relieved of your duties, effective immediately. You are not to leave this jump seat until we are on the ground. You will be met by police. Your career, Barbara, is over. You've destroyed 32 years in 32 seconds. Barbara Jensen finally, completely broke. It wasn't a cry. It was a high-pitched animal keening, the sound of a life ending. Meanwhile, in 1A, Serafina was back at work. Her team had a new laptop, identical to her old one, waiting in the car at Heathrow. She was now on the satellite phone, patched through to her general counsel in New York. David, yes, I'm fine. A bit of a headache. No, I don't want to sue her. That's small. I want the file, the entire HR and service record file for one Barbara Jensen. I want every complaint ever filed against her, and I want to know why she was still employed. And David, the pension fund discrepancy we found, the 200 million? I'm not negotiating it anymore. Tell Donovan's team the deal, price just dropped by 200 million. Non-negotiable. Call it a service fee. She hung up. Chadwick Vance leaned over. Dr. Hayes, that was the most epic thing I have ever seen. I'm Chadwick Vance, from Red Point Ventures. I know, Serafina said, not unkindly. You're looking to fund a new AI logistics platform. You're barking up the wrong tree. Your model is flawed. Chadwick was stunned. How did you— I own the market, Mr. Vance, and your video. Please send it to my assistant. It's now evidence. She handed him a simple black business card. It just had her name and an email address. Mrs. DuPont from across the aisle spoke up. Young lady? Serafina looked at her. I am terribly sorry I did not intervene sooner, the old woman said, her voice firm. What that woman did was despicable. It was a classless, racist, and utterly vile act. I will be writing a letter to— well, I suppose I'll be writing it to you now. Thank you, Mrs. DuPont. I appreciate that. No, Mrs. DuPont said. Thank you. I have a feeling Astraeus is about to get the spring cleaning it has needed for 20 years. The 777's wheels touched down at Heathrow with a gentle thud. It was 5:50 a.m. The plane did not go to the gate. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Miller's voice came over the PA. Due to a staffing issue, we will be holding at a remote stand. All passengers will deplane via a bus. First class. Please remain seated. We will have special assistance for you. As the plane taxied to a forgotten corner of the airport, Serafina looked out the window. Two vehicles were approaching on the tarmac, their lights flashing in the pre-dawn gloom. One was a sleek, black Mercedes-Maybach S-Class sedan. The other was a blue and yellow checkered London Metropolitan Police car, the jet bridge attached with a thunk. Captain Miller appeared. Dr. Hayes, your car is waiting. The police are also waiting. Serafina stood up, smoothed her hoodie, and picked up her broken laptop. She looked at Chloe, the junior attendant. "Chloe, you handled yourself with grace under pressure. What's your last name?" It's Nguyen, Mom." "I'll be seeing you again, Chloe Nguyen." She walked to the door. 2 uniformed police officers were standing there. "Dr. Hayes?" one asked. "Yes." "We're here for Ms. Jensen, but first, we need to take your statement. Will you be pressing charges for assault?" Serafina looked back down the aisle. She could see Barb, a shrunken, weeping heap, being held in the rear galley. "Yes," Serafina said. "I will." The police boarded the plane. Serafina and the other first-class passengers, who were now key witnesses, were escorted down the stairs to the tarmac. As Serafina stepped into the cool, damp London air, she heard it. A hysterical wail from the aircraft door above her. "No, please! It was a mistake. I have a mortgage. I've given my life to this company. Don't do this. Please!" Serafina didn't look back. She got into the back of the Maybach. Her assistant, David, was already there, holding a new laptop and a steaming cup of tea. "How was the flight, Sephi?" "Productive," Serafina said, taking the tea. "Schedule the meeting with Donovan for 9 a.m. at the airport, in his own Windsor suite, and get our legal team on the phone. We have an assault charge to file and an HR department to audit." "Right," David said. "And the acquisition?" "The acquisition," Serafina said, "is final. But the company is about to be completely, totally redesigned." The last thing she saw as the Maybach pulled away was Barbara Jensen in her smart blue uniform, being led in handcuffs into the back of the police car. The Queen of the Sky Palace had been dethroned, not in a palace, but on a patch of cold, wet tarmac. The fallout was not a storm, it was a climate-level change. Barbara Jensen's hard karma wasn't a single event. It was a slow, agonizing, and meticulously documented unraveling of her entire life. She was arrested and charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm by the London police. With video evidence from Chadwick Vance and testimony from Mrs. DuPont, Captain Miller, and Dr. Hayes, the case was open and shut. She was found guilty. Because she was a foreign national with no ties, she was fined $5,000, given a suspended sentence, and most critically, deported and banned from re-entering the United Kingdom for life. Astraeus Global, now a subsidiary of Helios Innovations, fired her for cause the same day. This voided her 32-year pension. Her union, which she had paid into for 3 decades, reviewed the video evidence and summarily refused to represent her, calling her actions a gross violation of all professional and human standards. She was blacklisted. No airline, not even a budget carrier, would touch her. The Barbara Jensen incident became a mandatory case study in every airline's new hire training program. Without her pension and her salary, her perfect suburban life evaporated. The mortgage she'd been worried about? The bank foreclosed within 6 months. The car her son had crashed? The insurance wouldn't cover it, and she had no money to fix it. Her husband, who she had supported and who had enjoyed the free-flying perks of her job for 20 years, filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. He too had seen the video. He was embarrassed. The video went viral. A passenger in coach had also filmed the slap's aftermath and Barb's hysterical, wailing arrest on the tarmac. It was everywhere, titled, "Karen Flight Attendant, Slaps Passenger, Gets Arrested." It was on the Daily Mail, TMZ, and Inside Edition. Her face was now synonymous with entitled, racist, and fired. Her friends, other senior flight attendants who shared her bitter outlook, suddenly stopped answering her calls. She was toxic. The new CEO of Astreus, the old CEO, Mark Donovan, lasted 15 minutes in his 9 a.m. meeting with Serafina. She didn't fire him. She simply bought out his contract. "Mark," she had said, sliding the cracked laptop across the polished table of the Windsor suite, "this is what your company culture produced. You're done." By 10 a.m., he was gone. By 11 a.m., Serafina had promoted Chloe Nguyen, not to purser, to provisional head of in-flight service and training, with a 300% pay raise. Her first task? To work with Dr. Hayes and a team from the NAACP and the Southern Poverty Law Center to design a new, mandatory, top-to-bottom, bias and de-escalation training program for all 50,000 Astreus employees. It was called the HAYES Initiative: Humanity, Awareness, Yielding, Empathy, Service. Astreus, under Helios ownership, was transformed. The old, stuffy culture was ripped out, pay was increased, benefits were improved, and the new #1 zero-tolerance rule was simple: respect the passenger, respect the person, or find a new career. Serafina's $5 billion acquisition was lauded as one of the most brilliant and ruthless corporate takeovers in a decade. She hadn't just bought an airline, she had bought it at a $200 million discount and used the very incident that could have hurt her as the catalyst for its complete and total reformation. 1 year later, John F. Kennedy International Airport, Terminal 8. The terminal itself was almost unrecognizable. The old, chaotic, beige and grey home of Astreus Global was gone. In its place was the Astreus by Helios flagship wing. The light was different, a soft, intelligent, circadian rhythm-matched glow that shifted with the time of day. The air was filtered, carrying a faint, bespoke scent of white tea and sandalwood. The seats at the gate weren't bolted-down plastic horrors. They were ergonomic pods. Boarding wasn't a chaotic scrum of Zone 1 and Diamond Medallion. It was a quiet, digital summons. An app on your phone, the new Helios Pass app, buzzed gently. "Dr. Hayes, your suite is ready. Please board at your leisure." Dr. Serafina Hayes stood up. She was, as she had been a year ago, dressed for comfort, not for show. The frayed Stanford hoodie was gone, retired to her closet. In its place was a simple, impeccably soft, dark blue cashmere travel set. No logos, no jewels, save for the practical, understated Patek Philippe Calatrava that her board had given her, a replacement for the Casio they'd all found so amusing. Her hair was pulled back. She looked like a woman who valued her time. She walked down the jet bridge, which was silent, carpeted, and gently lit. She stepped onto the aircraft, a brand-new Airbus A350-1000, the first of 200 that Helios had purchased to replace Astreus's aging, inefficient 777 fleet. The interior was a revelation. The flagship first suite was a project she had personally overseen with her own UI/UX designers from Helios. The walls were a soft, sound-absorbing grey flannel. The smart glass window dimmed with a tap. The seat, which used pressure mapping technology from her company's logistics-based sensors, molded itself to her body. It was less a seat and more an environment. A young man in a sharp, new uniform, a dark blue Italian wool suit with a simple golden sun pin, the Helios logo, approached. He didn't have the false, brittle smile of the old guard. He had a genuine, bright-eyed warmth. "Good evening, Dr. Hayes," he said, his voice low and respectful. "It is a genuine honor to have you with us. My name is Julian, and I'll be your lead attendant for the flight to London." "Julian, it's good to meet you," Serafina said, shaking his hand. "The new cabin looks flawless. My compliments to the design team." "Thank you, Mom. They'll be thrilled to hear that." He paused, not with the awkwardness of a servant, but with the confidence of a colleague. I just want to say, on behalf of the new training cohort, thank you. What you've done, it's changed our lives. We're not just attendants anymore. We're part of the system. You are the system, Julian, she said, with a small smile. You're the most important human-facing node in the entire network. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. He beamed. Can I get you a pre-departure beverage? We have the orate Bollinger, as always. Serafina looked him in the eye. A sparkling water with a slice of lime would be perfect. No ice, Julian said, without missing a beat. Coming right up. He returned 30 seconds later. The glass was heavy crystal. The water was a top-shelf brand, bubbling fiercely. On the side, on a small porcelain dish, were 3 perfectly clear, circular ice cubes and 4 perfectly cut lime wedges. We call this the Founder's Choice, Dr. Hayes, Julian said, with a twinkle in his eye. We give you the components. You have the final say on the configuration. Serafina laughed, a real, genuine laugh. Julian, you're going places. Tell me, how is Chloe Nguyen's new service protocol working out? The data looks good, but I prefer a human-in-the-loop report. It's night and day, ma'am. Ms. Nguyen, she's a legend to us. The HAYES initiative wasn't just, some boring HR video. It was a total teardown. She got rid of the seniority-based bidding. She got rid of the purser title. We're all flight leads now, with performance-based scheduling and bonuses. If you're good, like really good, you get the best routes. If you're not, you get retrained. If that doesn't work, you're respectfully invited to find a new career. Efficiency, Serafina nodded, pleased. And the de-escalation training. It's incredible. I know how to handle a drunk passenger, a medical emergency, and a bias incident with the same level of calm. We all do. We feel safer. And we're paid 40% more than any other airline. No one complains anymore. There's nothing to complain about. That's the goal, Serafina said. Thank you, Julian. I'll be working for the first few hours. You can dim the lights in my suite. Of course. He backed away, bowing slightly. Serafina settled in. She looked at her laptop. She was flying to London to announce the HAYES Philanthropic Fund's first $10 billion grant. The airline was fixed. Profitability in the last 12 months was up 400%. Customer satisfaction was at 99.8%. The stock price, since the Helios acquisition, had gone from near delisting to the single best-performing asset in the transportation sector. She had fixed the code. The good, she reflected, had been rewarded. Chloe Nguyen was not just a legend. She was the new Executive Vice President of Global Customer Experience, the youngest EVP in aviation history. She was 27 years old and reported directly to Serafina. She was in London now, running the new global hub, and had just bought her parents a house. Captain David Miller was now the Vice President of Flight Operations and Safety. He had been instrumental in helping Serafina root out the old boys club of pilots who resisted the new data-driven safety and efficiency protocols. He was a trusted, vital ally. Chadwick Chad Vance, the VC who had filmed the slap, had sent her the video and an enormous basket of muffins. He'd also sent a 10-page pitch deck asking to invest in Helios. Serafina had politely declined, but her team did end up co-investing with his firm on a small, unrelated startup, netting him a tidy 10x return and securing his eternal, terrified loyalty. He told the slap story at every dinner party, a cautionary tale about who might really be in the room. Even Mrs. DuPont, the old money lady, had become an unexpected friend. She had written her letter, and Serafina had written back. They had lunch, The 70-year-old aristocrat and the 34-year-old tech titan found they had much in common, namely a disdain for inefficiency and rudeness. Mrs. DuPont now sat on the Astreus Advisory Board, providing invaluable insight on how to keep the high-end legacy customers while attracting the new money tech crowd. The good had been rewarded, and the bad had been audited. The 24-hour quick stop and gas off Interstate 95, just south of Jacksonville, Florida, was a special kind of hell. It smelled of burnt coffee, stale beer, diesel fumes, and the damp, cloying sweetness of the tropical night. The fluorescent lights hummed with a sound that drilled into your skull. At 3:15 a.m., this was Barbara Jensen's domain. She was no longer Barbara Jensen, senior purser. She was Barb, the night shift clerk. She was 59 years old. Her 32-year pension, gone, fired for cause, in-flight assault, gross negligence, and violation of the company's code of conduct. Her union. They had reviewed the video from Chadwick Vance's phone, which Serafina's legal team had gleefully provided. They dropped her case so fast it left a sonic boom. A gross, racist, and indefensible violation of all professional standards. Her 3 decades of union dues were smoke. Her career, blacklisted. The Barbara Jensen incident was literally a mandatory case study in the HAYES Initiative Training Module under the chapter Implicit Bias, Emotional Dysregulation, and Complete Career Suicide. No airline, not even a 12-seat puddle jumper in Alaska, would touch her. So she was here. Her once immaculate blue uniform was gone. She now wore a stained, bright red polyester polo shirt with a Quick Stop logo on it. It was 2 sizes too big and smelled faintly of the fryer later. Her purser updo was gone. Her hair, now streaked with grey roots she couldn't afford to have coloured, was pulled back in a greasy, limp ponytail. Her hands, once perfectly manicured to serve champagne flutes, were raw and chapped from cleaning the ICE machine and mopping the bathroom. Her perfectly made-up face was still there. But it was a tragic mask. The cheap, caked-on foundation couldn't hide the broken capillaries, and her once sharp lipstick was a smear of failure. "Hey, lady!" Barb flinched. A trucker, his belly hanging over his belt, slammed a half-empty, lukewarm coffee cup on the counter. "This tastes like burnt mud. Make me a new pot." The old Barbara, the Queen of the Sky Palace, flared in her chest. Her eyes narrowed. "That pot was made 10 minutes ago. It's fresh. You can't—" "I said," the trucker snarled, leaning in. "It tastes like mud. You gonna call me a liar? Make a new pot." Barb's hands clenched. She could feel the slap rising in her arm, the audacity, the disrespect. She was about to tell him, Get out of my store." "Yo, Barb, we got a problem?" The voice, nasal and irritating, came from behind the register. Kyle, her manager, a 22-year-old with a wispy mustache and a pineapple-flavored vape, didn't even look up from his phone. The customer is being a customer," Kyle sighed, exasperated. "Just make the damn coffee, Barb, and smile, why don't ya? You're scaring people." The humiliation was a physical, acidic taste in her mouth. "Yes, Kyle," she whispered. She took the pot, her hands shaking with rage, and went to the back. Her life was gone. It hadn't just ended. It had been meticulously dismantled. The house she'd been worried about. Foreclosed. The bank had taken it 6 months after she was fired. Her husband, Richard, he had seen the video. He had seen the Daily Mail articles. The Karen of the Skies headlines. He wasn't just embarrassed. He was repulsed. He had supported her for 30 years, living off her salary and her free flight perks. The moment the perks were gone, so was he. He'd filed for divorce, claiming irreconcilable differences, and emotional distress from the public scandal. He was now living with a 29-year-old dental hygienist in Boca Raton. Her son, the one who'd crashed her car. He had seen the video too. He'd been laughed out of his fraternity. He'd sent her a one-line text, "You've ruined my life," and hadn't spoken to her since. She lived in a single-room, mold-infested apartment above a bait shop, paid for in cash from her 11 an hour, 40-hour-a-week job. She had no car. She had no friends. The other flight attendants, the ones she used to gossip and complain with, they saw her as a ghost, a warning. They crossed the street when they saw her. She was pouring the coffee grounds into the filter when the bell at the front door dinged. She ignored it. Kyle could get it. "Barb, get out here. The bathroom needs a mop. Someone—" Ugh. She shuffled out, mop bucket in hand, and she froze. Standing at the refrigerated drink case was a young woman, a young, black woman. She was wearing headphones and a charcoal-grey Stanford University hoodie. It was a different girl, a different face. But the hoodie— Barbara's breath hitched, her heart hammered against her ribs. The gas station seemed to tilt. The buzzing of the lights became a roar. "Get out! Get out of first class!" The girl grabbed a bottle, a sparkling water. She walked to the counter. She was polite. She smiled at Kyle. "Just this, please." "You got it," Kyle said, ringing her up. Barbara was hiding, half behind a rack of pork rinds, her hand clutching the mop handle. She was shaking. "She doesn't belong here. She's— The girl paid, took her water, and turned. She saw Barb staring, and her polite smile faltered into a look of confusion, of mild concern. "Have a good night, ma'am," the girl said, just being nice. Barb couldn't speak. She just stared, her mouth open, her face a rictus of terror and hate. The girl, weirded out, hurried out of the store and got onto a small charter bus, which hissed and pulled away. Barb's knees buckled. She leaned against the chip rack, gasping. "Dude, what is wrong with you?" Kyle asked, snapping his gum. Barbara didn't answer. She was looking at the small, flickering TV mounted in the corner above the cigarette display. It was tuned to Bloomberg News, on mute, and on the screen, a graphic, Astreus soars, Helios HAYES initiative, revolutionizes travel. The stock ticker was a blur of green, upward-facing arrows. And there, on the screen, smiling and ringing the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange, was Dr. Serafina Hayes. She was wearing a smart, blue dress. Next to her, also smiling, was a young, confident Asian woman, Chloe Nguyen. And next to her, in a crisp new uniform, was Captain David Miller. They were laughing. They were successful. They were winners. The camera zoomed in on Serafina's face. It was calm, powerful, happy. Barbara Jensen looked at the woman on the screen, the woman she had slapped, the woman whose life she had tried, in one instant, to diminish. And she looked at her own reflection in the black, dead screen of the register. The haggard, defeated, 59-year-old gas station clerk, the Queen of the Sky Palace, now the jester of the quick stop. It wasn't a sob. It was a dry, rasping, animal sound of pure, unadulterated regret that tore itself from her throat. She dropped the mop. It clattered to the floor, splashing grey, dirty water over her own scuffed sneakers. "That's it!" Kyle shouted, throwing his vape down. "I'm docking your pay for that. Clean it up, Barb. And if you're gonna cry, you do it in the walk-in freezer. You're grossing me out." She had hit rock bottom, and she was about to find out that rock bottom had a basement. At 35,000 feet, the A350 was a silent, steady sanctuary. Serafina's suite was dark. The only light was the glow of her laptop. Julian, the flight lid, glided up the aisle and stopped. He saw she was deep in thought. "Dr. Hayes?" he whispered. She looked up. "Yes, Julian." "Pardon me. We've just passed the eastern seaboard and are now feet wet over the Atlantic. Also, Captain Miller sends his personal regards from the flight deck. He says the new engine modifications from the Helios team are performing 15% above projections. He said, and I quote, "It's like flying a spaceship." Serafina smiled. "Tell him to keep pushing it. And Julian?" "Yes, ma'am. You can bring the Bollinger now. It's time to celebrate." "My pleasure, Dr. Hayes." He returned with the champagne. She sipped it. The cold, crisp bubbles, a stark contrast to the lukewarm water she'd been served a lifetime ago. She had her deal. She had her airline. She had, in a way, her revenge. But as she looked out the window, at the curve of the earth and the endless diamond-sharp stars, she didn't feel vengeful. She didn't feel anything at all for Barbara Jensen. Barbara wasn't a person anymore. She was a data point, a fixed bug in the system. The real work was still ahead. Serafina turned back to her laptop. She was finalizing the press release for the HAYEF Philanthropic Fund. $10 billion for women of color in STEM. She had owned the plane. It was a good start. But now she was learning that true power wasn't about owning things. It was about changing them. And as the new, perfect, impossibly quiet jet streaked across the night, Serafina Hayes, the invisible titan, got back to work. And just like that, Barbara Jensen's 30,000-foot fall didn't end when the plane landed. It continued until she hit rock bottom. This is a story that proves a very real, very hard lesson. The person you are disrespecting, the person you think is beneath you, might just be the one who owns the entire building, or in this case, the entire airline. Dr. Serafina Hayes didn't just get revenge, she got justice. She used her power not just to punish one person, but to fix the entire broken system that allowed that person to thrive. She turned a moment of ugly, racist hate into a billion-dollar lesson in leadership. What did you think of this story of instant karma? Have you ever seen someone get exactly what they deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories where the bully gets what's coming to them, make sure to hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a story of justice being served.